Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting live and proudly from the Hesselson studio this morning. And breaking news overnight, the House Republicans have advanced Trump's big, beautiful bill. It now faces a final vote early this morning. Speaker Johnson, which we'll get to all of this in just moments, but Speaker Johnson saying it could be voted on as early as 8 a.m. this morning. We'll be keeping a close eye. Normally in Washington, if they say 8 a.m., we're not going to get breaking news before that they voted on it at 7:50 before we go off the air. Most likely it'll be 9, 10, something like that. But setting it up for a final vote. So big breaking news this morning. Later on in today's broadcast, we'll be talking with Jo Barlow. We always look forward to talking with her and about the Crystal Chords because we know we're going to get a special tune that they send in just for us. So we'll be playing a song by Mach 4. That'll be in the 7 o'clock hour, and we'll find out about the Summer Sing, which is coming up on July 8th. You'll find out all about it in the 7 o'clock hour. I feel like we have other things that we'll be covering as well. How are you preparing for Independence Day? I know this has been a short week on Frankly Speaking, and I apologize for that. A little under the weather earlier in the week, and now we have tomorrow off. Trust me, it was not planned that way, but thank you to all the nice comments that I received while away. Okay, so the Republicans in the House of Representatives advanced the one big, beautiful bill toward a final yes or no vote. This happened late, well, really early this morning, not late last night, early this morning. The first report I saw was around 4 o'clock in the morning, in the first article. But it overcame internal party division over its cost. We'll get to the specifics of that vote, but it came off the heels of Donald Trump urging Republicans to vote on it, taking to True Social just after midnight, saying largest tax cuts in history in a booming economy versus biggest tax increases in history in a failed economy. What are the Republicans waiting for? What are you trying to prove? MAGA is not happy, and it's costing you votes. Minutes later, he posted for Republicans, this should be an easy yes vote. Ridiculous, in all caps. Now, at that time, there were 5 holdouts. Representative Keith Self of Texas, Andrew Clyde of Georgia, Victoria Spartz of Indiana, Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, and Thomas Massey of Kentucky. They were all nays on the vote to open the debate on passing the massive legislative package. That's when the president fired off the post. 8 Republican members had not yet voted on the procedural measure, including several members of the conservative House Freedom Caucus, which had signaled opposition to the changes the Senate made and approved in a 51-50 vote on Trump's agenda bill Tuesday. We reported on that at the time. They're going to vote for, they're not opposed to the bill, House Ways and Means Chairman Jason Smith told reporters during the standstill. So that's the standstill. And then very early this morning, in a 219 to 213 vote, right around 3:30 a.m., as the New York Post reports it, I guess what you would say cleared that final hurdle. It needed to begin the debate on the bill. So that was, again, 3:30 this morning. Lawmakers then reopened debate for a final vote. It was expected around 5:30 a.m., An earlier procedural vote was held open for 7 hours, giving Trump and House Speaker Mike Johnson time to convince holdouts to back the president's signature bill. Johnson had expressed optimism late last night, saying lawmakers had a long, productive day discussing the issues. After the vote, he praised Trump for making phone calls to the holdouts throughout the early hours of Thursday morning. There couldn't be a more engaged and involved president, said Speaker Johnson. Now, of course, it goes without saying Democrats were united in opposition. Now, with a narrow 220 to 212 majority, Republicans can afford no more than 3 defections to get a final bill passed. Democrats are united in opposition, as is always the case, saying that its tax breaks disproportionately benefit the wealthy while cutting services that lower and middle income Americans rely on. That's the argument that they are making. And we don't need to go through all the back and forth of what certain politicians were saying. But any changes made by the House, if there are any, would require another Senate vote, which would make it all but impossible to meet the July 4th deadline. So there is a major breaking news update this morning. Now, Speaker Johnson did say that he expects the final passage of the policy bill around 8 a.m. this morning. Know that President Trump has been speaking with members throughout the night, as I mentioned earlier. He was directly engaged, as he always is, and that was very important. Members wanted to hear certain assurances from him about what's ahead, what the future will entail, and what we're going to do next, and all of that. And he's very, very helpful in that process. I talked to him multiple times tonight and today, this morning. I mean, he was up, engaged, as late as 1 a.m. He may still be up for all I know. He doesn't really sleep a lot, so, directly engaged, wanting to know play-by-play what was happening and how he could help and all of that. The group will go down, get the votes necessary to pass the rule. We'll proceed to debate, probably 2 to 3 hours for that. There's an hour allotted, but leaders, Jeffrey gets a magic minute. I think he goes about an hour. Mine will be much shorter than that, and we'll proceed to a final vote. And we'll be passing this bill, I expect, maybe around 8:30 this morning, maybe sooner, maybe sooner. We'll be gathering on the floor shortly. I'm going to collect. Everybody's driving in. They're about to arrive, and we'll be moving forward here shortly. And I believe you can watch, or not watch, but I believe they are currently having that debate. So around 8 a.m. is the theory. Now, looking ahead here. All right. Sorry, I'm just looking like I'm having a little bit of a technical glitch on perhaps the text messages. Okay. Keep those texts, keep those waves coming in so I have an idea that it is working. I see that the dates all seem to be wrong. That makes me concerned that we need to do an update. But anyway, so big breaking news. We're going to talk about that. We do have a lot of other updates we need to get to. But some very interesting comments made about the big, beautiful bill. The media weighing in on it. I noticed this morning driving in that there actually must have been I don't know, overnight is the only thing I can think of, or they were really early this morning, protest in the lot next to the congressional office. A protest over the big, beautiful bill and I couldn't read it because it was dark, but various tombstones must be with the things that they believe will have a negative impact on society because of the big, beautiful bill. Not really a surprise, as we've talked about so many times on this program. There seems to be, at least in the Corning area where I spend so much time, protests nearly daily. Now, originally there was going to be a nationwide protest on July 4th. I think that fizzled out. I don't know if anybody's heard anything about that, but please, if you have, let me know. We try to pass that information along to you. So the advancement of Trump's massive agenda bill after the fiscal hawks cave. Now, I think there was, yes, moderate Representative Brian Fitzpatrick from Pennsylvania voted all but. Let me try this again. The House adopted the rules for debate on the measure in a dramatic 219 to 213 vote, with all but moderate Representative Brian Fitzpatrick voting to proceed. So that was the last holdout, was Brian Fitzpatrick from Pennsylvania. Again, we're looking at a debate going on currently, and a vote around 8 a.m. We'll try to keep, oh good, they are working. Okay, we'll try to keep you updated. I'm going to be checking the news as quickly as we can, trying to get updates from others. If you hear anything, let me know about the passage. It's going to be a heck of a timeline. Of course, President Trump, I've had people ask, why do you think it was so important to have this July 4th deadline? Because Lisa Murkowski was making it sound as if that was a negative thing because there was things they wanted to tweak. Well, I think if you leave Washington to their druthers, if you leave Washington up to Washington, they'll never get anything accomplished without some sort of deadline. They'll always keep debating and keep tweaking, if you will. So July 4th puts in a scenario where Trump can get his agenda enacted relatively early in his first term before the media, and I know they've already started with this, but before the media goes in the direction of lame duck. Now, they don't always wait until the midterms to start saying lame duck, and even if and when Republicans maintain the majority at the midterms, they'll still suggest that Trump is a lame duck. I had a great conversation about this, and I would highly encourage our friends in the Hornell area, because I know we have a lot of viewers from Hornell, and we appreciate you joining us. I'm going to be on Mayor John Buckley's radio program. It broadcasts on, Saturday and Sunday at 1 o'clock on WLEA, a great radio station group there, great owners. That's going to broadcast on Saturday and Sunday, but we had just a wonderful conversation about the idea of a lame duck presidency, and can Donald Trump be the one that kind of breaks that trend where he isn't a lame duck? Forget whatever happens in the midterm. Just the power that he has to bring people to the polls, the Republicans that will want him campaigning with them. Will that mean that he isn't going to be a typical lame duck? And it's just kind of I think a really good conversation. But that's what this is about getting something done in Washington. And if you leave Washington to Washington, they will drag their feet and nothing will ever be done because they like it that way. So by giving this hard deadline, it encourages them to make votes in the right direction. It's that idea of 80-20, right? If you love 80% of it, but you hate 20% of it, that still means you love 80% of it. Don't give up great for perfect. So that's really where this comes from, the hard push. But if you are just joining us, they did advance Trump's massive agenda bill, the big, beautiful bill, and it is now currently being debated and could be voted on as early as 8 a.m., potentially earlier if Hakeem Jeffries decides not to use about an hour of floor time. That is according to Speaker Johnson. So when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more, a lot more about this. We are going to move on. We're going to be jumping back into this conversation throughout this morning's broadcast because it is such breaking news. But there's other topics that I think are worth getting out to you so that you are prepared for the day and for the long weekend. What's your plans for the 4th of July? I'd love to hear them. How do you plan on celebrating Independence Day? Let me know. But right now, we got to take our first break. Just getting warmed up here. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday morning edition of Frankly Speaking. We'll be right back.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
You don't have to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
The new How to Train Your Dragon menu is now at BK. Get it before it disappears. Oh, toothless. Bold, tasty, and dangerously delicious. How to Train Your Dragon, only in theaters.
8 p.m. somewhere. Do you know where your kids are online?
But you want to save hundreds when Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance.
That's great, but can you ask your friend to stop digging into the green?
I can ask, but he's not going to. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Macy's 4th sale has our lowest prices of summer on mattresses. Rest easy with up to 65% off our top brands. A free adjustable base or box spring. Plus a Macy's gift card up to $300. Ends Monday at Macy's.
When I'm in Elmira and Corning.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Automation. Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. And let's go to the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program where we read viewer comments. I'm tongue twisted. I stayed up too late watching all the action from Washington. Mark writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. Glad to see the big, beautiful bill might make it to Trump today. Yes, the timeline, according to Speaker Johnson, could be a vote as early as 8 a.m. That could be a little wishful thinking. There's still things Democrats can do to kind of gum up the works a little bit, slow it down. But yesterday, or I keep saying yesterday, but it was early this morning at 3:03, I think it said, 3 o'clock in the morning, when they jumped that procedural hurdle. The vote was something of a gamble, we learned, as Speaker Johnson had faced opposition to the legislation from various corners of his ideologically diverse conference. This is coming from the Hill. It's interesting, too, to see when you go to, and I don't mean to single out the Hill, but I was looking at some of the websites, just trying to get updates, and you'll see articles late last night. Well, it looks like it's not going to get done. Looks like the deadline, not going to make it. Too many holdouts, DOA, these type of things. And then you see that here, and then one up above it is it advances. But continuing, conservatives had warned that they would sink the procedural measures unless it was delayed beyond Wednesday. Johnson called their bluff, held the vote open for more than 5 hours, and then adopted the rule after winning enough support, an effort that got a big boost from Trump, who spoke with some of the holdouts during a long midnight impasse. In a dramatic and unusual moment, Johnson convened the group of GOP holdouts on the floor, and the group prayed together shortly before the vote closed. Johnson then snapped a photo of the GOP critics on the House floor. Oh, wow. Yeah, he was playing tough. Adoption of the rule sets the stage for Johnson and his leadership team to pass the legislation later this morning, well ahead of their self-imposed July 4th deadline. The Senate has passed the same bill on Tuesday, so the legislation will head directly to Trump's desk, where he's expected to sign it with a ceremonial flourish, the Hill says, on Independence Day. If all goes, and that's why I like Mark's comment, might make it to Trump today. There's still a lot to go. You never know if there's going to be a couple holdouts that want to make a name for themselves. It's unfortunate. Republicans have kind of a history of that. Democrats, not so much. If you have one Democrat, even most of the time, let's say 99% of the time, vote with Democrats, but one time decides, well, maybe I'll change my tune a little bit here and actually talk to Trump, such as John Fetterman. Look what happens. All of a sudden, they question his mental health. After 4 years of never discussing mental health, they'll question his mental health. They'll question his loyalties. But I'll continue. The chamber adopted the rule after a whirlwind of an afternoon on Capitol Hill, which saw a different procedural vote stall for more than 7 hours as holdouts huddled with Johnson and White House aides behind closed doors. It marked the longest vote in House history. Hardline conservatives have hammered the big, beautiful bill, weary that it cuts too little on federal spending and piles too much on the national debt. Those concerns only grew after the package returned from the Senate, which had altered the initial House bill in ways that increased deficit spending. So it was, again, a lot of holdouts. Like I said, Speaker Johnson taking the picture of the holdouts. The sole remaining GOP no was, again, Representative Brian Fitzpatrick. Now, yesterday, and we are going to move on from this in the next segment, though as I come back from break, I'm sure I'll make sure to mention it just for those just joining us. But yesterday, we will talk a little bit more about it in the next segment because I'm running late, and I want to tell you what Congressman Nick Langworthy had to say about it yesterday. He gave remarks on the House floor in support of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. I mentioned in the last segment that there were, I don't know, I guess you'd call it a protest. It looks like they were there all night. One person's remaining to save the seat, and all their tombstones and all their props for the protest, but it looks like it was an all-night ordeal. That or they were getting there very, very early. But I mentioned that because it was right next to Congressman Langworthy's office, and it looked to me, even though in the dead of night as I was coming into work, it looked to me as if it was definitely a protest not in support of the big, beautiful bill. But we'll tell you what the congressman had to say. Then we'll move along with some updates. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Do you think it'll get to the president's desk today? Do you think it'll be passed as early as 8 o'clock, as Speaker Johnson said? Also, as I said, I'd love to hear your thoughts on, not your thoughts, on what you'll do, what you'll be doing tomorrow for Independence Day. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily, Jardiance, at each day start. As time went on, it was easy to see I'm lowering my A1C.
And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardiance can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too.
Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine, which can be fatal. Stop Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, trouble breathing, or increased ketones. Jardiance may cause dehydration that can suddenly worsen kidney function and make you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or weak upon standing. Genital yeast infections in men and women, urinary tract infections, low blood sugar, or a rare life-threatening bacterial infection between and around the anus and genitals can occur. Call your doctor right away if you have fever or feel weak or tired and pain, tenderness, swelling, or redness in the genital area. Don't use if allergic to Jardiance. Stop use if you have a serious allergic reaction. Call your doctor if you have rash, swelling, difficulty breathing, or swallowing. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have new pain or tenderness, sores, ulcers, or infection in your legs or feet.
Jardiance is really swell, the little pill with a big story to tell.
Hey, this is John's Tree Service. Spring is here and summer is coming. Do you have a tree in your backyard that just doesn't look nice? Kind of makes your property look a little rough? John's Tree Service, licensed, insured, locally owned, and rated A+ with the Better Business Bureau. Do you have a monster tree in your backyard? Is there no access to it? Can it not be climbed? Is it too dead? We can put our crane and reach over your house and pull that tree down, do it in a safe manner. Coming to a neighborhood near you to service all your tree needs. Call today at 607-377-6513.
Catch Twin Tiers local news and weather by visiting WYDCTV.com. We've got daily and weekly weather forecast, question of the day, things to do, and more. WYDCTV.com, your website for everything Twin Tiers local.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Marcus Street in Corning. Thank you for joining us this morning as many prepare for their vacation. Again, House Republicans advanced Trump's big, beautiful bill to a final vote early this morning at around 3:30 a.m. It could be voted on as early or passed as early as 8 o'clock this morning. And more than happy to continue talking about this. I just had a couple quotes that I wanted to read to you. First of all, Congressman Nick Langworthy gave remarks on the House floor in support of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Some of the highlights of his speech, he said, in just a short time, key provisions of the current tax code, provisions that help power economic growth, create jobs, and lift take-home pay for millions of Americans, are set to expire. If we do nothing, we're looking at the largest tax increase in a generation. Families will see their child tax credit slashed. Small businesses will lose vital expensing tools that make the difference in hiring new employees and staying open next year. Workers will see their paychecks shrink, and those who can least afford it, working parents, middle-class families, will be the ones hit the hardest. Let's be clear. This outcome, where the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act expires, leading to colossal tax increases for the American people, is something my colleagues on the left wholeheartedly support. But Republicans in Congress and President Trump will not allow Democrats to stand in the way of the economic future of the American people. That's why the legislation before us today makes the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act permanent and brings historic tax relief to seniors, tipped workers, and those who work overtime. Now, yesterday, Governor Hochul, of course, had to weigh in on it. Governor Hochul realizing that earlier this week, Elise Stefanik had said at a fundraiser for none other than Congressman Langworthy, saying at the fundraiser something to the extent of, it's just a matter of time of if, not when, meaning that she's signaled that she's going to run for governor of New York. So Kathy Hochul slammed Stefanik for endangering her own constituents' lives, health, and jobs by supporting the mega bill. So the GOP lawmaker hit back in a lengthy post on Twitter, calling Governor Hochul the worst governor in America, and saying, "Hi, Kathy Hochul, welcome to the fight. You didn't get exposed enough during our last round when you testified and were totally exposed for your dangerous and failed sanctuary state policies?" She asked with a question mark. Kathy gives Medicaid to illegals, putting New Yorkers most vulnerable last. New York's Medicaid program is rampant with tens of billions of waste, fraud, and abuse under Kathy's watch. Oh, and Kathy, your numbers in rural New York are plummeting, just like they are everywhere else. I have been nationally recognized as a top advocate to deliver results for rural hospitals due to my work for hospitals in my district. Not pulling any punches. As she said, it's not a matter of if, it's of when Stefanik declares that she's running for governor. I know I've actually had someone raise a good point that maybe Stefanik just wants to have the summer with her family before starting that tedious work, if you will, of running for governor. There may be a little bit something to that, though I think it's always best when Republicans declare early for the gubernatorial race. That's just my thoughts. So again, we're talking about the big, beautiful bill, and why? Because Republicans have advanced the bill to a final vote happening early this morning. Okay, a couple other things that we do have to move on from that for the time being, because I have some updates. I think some things that you're going to find interesting and useful throughout the day. This is a story that we had for you a while back on the program. It was about a high school student who said the term illegal aliens in class. His name's Christian McGee, 17 years old. He was suspended after officials at the school deemed what he said racially insensitive. The suspension has led to a year-long legal battle with the Davidson County Board of Education. Well, last month, a proposed settlement was reportedly reached between McGee's parents and the school board. On Tuesday, Judge Thomas David Schroeder in the U.S. District Court for the Middle District of North Carolina ruled that the proposed settlement was fair, reasonable, and in the best interest of Christian, according to a press release released yesterday. The school has reportedly agreed to remove the racial bias incident from McGee's record, issue a public apology, and acknowledge that a former board member responded inappropriately to the incident. Additional terms of the agreement are sealed, but the New York Post reported that the family is also slated to receive $20,000 in the settlement. Because the student is a minor, a court hearing was required to finalize the settlement. The teen received a 3-day suspension in the spring of 2024 after asking his teacher if a conversation in the classroom was centered around spaceship aliens or illegal aliens who need green cards. After he returned to the classroom from the restroom, he had missed the conversation, but he heard that they were talking about aliens. Fair question. Fair question. A Latino student present in the class reportedly joked that he was going to beat up Christian in a different term. leading the teacher to escalate the situation to the assistant principal. This got really nasty, and we talk about kind of the bubble that teachers are in and administrators are in, we're seeing at the college campuses, which we're going to get to in just a second. They're in such a bubble that they are not to be questioned, they are not to be challenged. So when the McGee family challenged them, they fought back, and it became only worse for them. The lawsuit accused the school board of violating McGee's constitutionally protected rights to free speech and due process. The court's approval represents a critical step towards finally vindicating Christian's constitutional rights and clearing his record of false allegations. So there you go, suspended, wiped off, because originally they were fighting over the fact they wanted it still to say on his permanent record that it was a racially insensitive comment. Which, if you're keeping that on his permanent record, isn't that doing a ton of damage for his future? But instead, the court agreed to this settlement of, again, the racial bias incident being erased from McGee's record, him being issued a public apology, and acknowledged that a former board member responded inappropriately to the incident. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. Additional terms of the agreement are sealed, but they think it's about a $20,000 payment. So in their kind of arrogance to fight this, the school district cost taxpayers a lot of time and money, and now probably in what they will hate the most. Number one, being told that they have to erase that from his record, but most importantly, they're going to hate that public apology. But that ties into what we've talked so often about with that arrogance in that academic bubble. And we're seeing it at Columbia. I don't know if you saw this, but Columbia University's president issued a groveling apology, saying she regrets a text where she suggested the removal of a Jewish board member, and a separate text urging the school to get an, and I quote, Arab board member, and quote, quickly. A House investigation dug up the text sent by acting President Claire Shipman in January of 2024 amidst the anti-Israel campus protests. They were advocating removing Shoshana Shendelman from the Board of Trustees. Shendelman was one of the most vocal members against harassment of Jewish students. How dare she be against the harassment of Jewish students? Because if you look at Harvard, the president there is willing to take a pay cut to prove that he stands with the anti-Semitic protesters, right? So in this case, you had someone on the Board of Trustees saying, hey, maybe no more harassment of Jewish students. Maybe they're part of the student body as well. Maybe they deserve, and they're paying good money for their education. Maybe we should be protecting them, not encouraging the people that are harassing them. But in a private text, again, acting president of Columbia University texted she agreed that Shendelman could be a mole, calling her extraordinarily unhelpful and suggesting they get somebody from the Middle East. In a private email sent Wednesday afternoon by Shipman to trusted groups of friends and colleagues, in which she said she made a mistake and promised to do better, amid the college losing over $400 million in federal funding for not doing enough to fight anti-Semitism. Let me be clear. The things I said in a moment of frustration and stress were wrong. They do not reflect how I feel. It was a moment of immense pressure over a year and a half ago as we navigated some deeply turbulent times. But that doesn't change the fact that I made a mistake. Now, this comes after Representatives Elise Stefanik and Tim Wahlberg, chairs of the Committee on Education and Workforce, sent a letter to Shipman, which included private messages sent by Shipman to colleagues in the wake of the October 7th attack. In another message, Shipman said she was so tired of Shendelman, a Jewish biotech executive. So that also ties in with Columbia. We learned yesterday, Columbia University, a hacktivist, they are called. A hacktivist steals the data of 2.5 million Columbia University student, employees, and applicants in a politically motivated attack. A seasoned hacktivist reportedly stole sensitive data for more than 2 million Columbia University students, applicants, and employees. The sophisticated digital activist who knocked the Ivy League system offline for several hours on the 24th of June swiped Social Security numbers, citizenship status, university-issued ID numbers, application decisions, employee salaries, and other private records. A university official said that the savvy hacker appeared to target specific documents to advance their political agenda. Of course, this is being investigated by law enforcement. The lone intruder behind the massive outrage later owned up to the breach in an anonymous message to Bloomberg News, which confirmed it had examined the 1.6 gigabyte haul of stolen files. So that's another update. We got a couple other quick ones on that. Again, if you are just waking up, this viewer just waking up, let's make an even 10 waves. I overslept. Well, good for you. If you're just waking up, the House Republicans had advanced Trump's big, beautiful bill, sending it to the final vote, which could take place. The debate's going on right now. The vote could take place in the passage of the big, beautiful bill as early as 8 a.m. this morning, according to Speaker Johnson. We'll talk about it throughout the program, but we are going to mix in other topics as well. But feel free, please, to weigh in on the big, beautiful bill's advancement. We got to take a short break. This is, Frankly Speaking, here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
I'm Marianne Crawford. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
I have active psoriatic arthritis, but with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready for this moment. Along with clearer skin, Skyrizi helps me move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. And it's just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
There's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today. Learn how AbbVie could help you save.
Haley Livingston, Big Fox News, Corning, New York.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call.
Look at that. Almost looks like a painting. That's a beautiful view. Thanks to Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Marcus Street in Corning. Coming up later on in today's broadcast, we'll be talking with Joe Barlow from the Crystal Chords, and we have a new song just for this broadcast from our good friends in Mach 4. So we appreciate that. If you are just waking up, the House Republicans have advanced Trump's big, beautiful bill to a final vote, which could happen as early as 8 a.m. this morning. If you have any questions about the bill or any of the events that unfolded last night, because it was a conversation, a vote that lasted late into the night. The final vote coming in at 3:30, right around 3:30 this morning, a 219 to 213 vote. Brian Fitzpatrick from Pennsylvania was the lone holdout. There had been quite a few earlier in the day. We learned from the Hill, which I found kind of fascinating, that Speaker Johnson had everyone say a prayer, then later took a picture of the holdouts. I'm not sure what that was going to be used for, but that seems like an interesting decision to make. I also had another little tidbit that so we learned that Trump and Johnson and others were meeting with these holdouts throughout the day and throughout the night, late into the night. In a meeting with those holdouts, Trump's tone was cordial one GOP member in the room said, according to CNN. The White House brought in Dr. Oz, who leads the agency in charge of Medicaid, to help educate members on related provisions in the Senate GOP bill, such as provider taxes and a bolstered fund for rural hospitals and the potential impacts to hospitals in their districts. According to another person familiar with the discussions, Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance were both in attendance, helping to convince members to back the bill. Those two people confirmed. Those meetings are having a big impact. Members are moving to yes, said Representative Dusty Johnson of South Dakota, telling reporters after leaving the meeting with Oz, Trump, and Vance. House Majority Whip Steve Scalise nodded to the importance of Trump's involvement in the discussion earlier Wednesday, telling reporters at the U.S. Capitol, the president from day one has been our best closer, and he's going to continue throughout the day. So I know I'm going to keep sprinkling in big, beautiful bill conversations as we move along to other topics. As we talk about anti-Semitism on college campuses, just quickly, I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but the MIT professor accused of harassing a Jewish PhD student out of the university by calling him a real-life case study of Zionist mind infection remains on the staff at the university. Just to confirm what I keep saying about this academic bubble, knowing they'll get no kind of trouble pushing their hatred. So, and this is a professor, an MIT professor, harassing a Jewish student. And then you wonder why the anti-Semitic protests have gained so much traction on college campuses. Because, look, some of these professors become parental figures to these students, maybe away from home for the first time. So what do they want to do? They want to impress those parental figures, and they want to participate in the encampments or the protests or the harassment of Jewish students to get the pat on the back from their professor, or they want to interrupt or rewrite their commencement speech to include attacks on Jews in general and the Jewish community on their campuses. Former computer science student Will Sussman described what he calls a climate of terror on campus for Jewish people at the university. He is also suing MIT and the educator he claims targeted him, Professor of Linguistics Michael DeGraff. Sussman alleges in the suit that he was subjected to anti-Semitic harassment by Professor DeGraff that was so extreme and intolerable that it forced him to leave MIT. Sussman claims in the lawsuit things started when he had objected to a guest lecture speaking to DeGraff's class, quote, about an alleged settler colonial Zionist, i.e. Jewish, mind infection being funded through organizations such as Hillel and Shabbat, both Jewish campus groups, which Sussman then was the then president of the Grand Hillel. So anyway, just giving you yet another example. Commentary's Seth Mandel said, when institutions make life uncomfortable for Jews, there's usually a simple reason for it. Those with influence within the institution want fewer Jews hanging around them. The British Medical Association's descent into an unhealthy fixation on Palestinians and no other oppressed minority sure looks intended to drive out Jewish members. And North Carolina's Democratic Party Executive Committee just passed a resolution accusing Israel of genocide and calling for the U.S. to institute a defense embargo against the Jewish state, culminating a prolonged push to make the party even more hostile to Jewish members. As these symbolic tactics proliferate, realize they're not actually focused on Israel, but on finding ways to make Jews feel uncomfortable. So it's not just happening on the college campuses. It's happening in the quote-unquote real world. But to piggyback off of that, the family of the Colorado terror suspect who injured 8 Israeli hostage supporters with homemade firebombs last month, if you recall, we brought that story to you numerous times on updates. His family can be deported, according to a federal judge ruling on Wednesday. U.S. District Court Judge Orlando Garcia dismissed Mohammed Sabri Solomon's family's legal challenge to their deportation, stating that the Trump administration has conducted normal and legal removal proceedings. Solomon's wife and 5 children had sued to prevent the removal proceedings, but the judge ruled he lacks jurisdiction to grant petitioners the relief that they seek. So that's just a quick update. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about New York State issues. Please feel free to weigh in as the House Republicans advance Trump's big, beautiful bill to a final vote, which will happen a little bit later this morning. We have quite a few New York State updates. I have a couple, I think, really interesting media updates from the story we brought to you yesterday. Paramount and CBS paying Trump around $16 million, could be as much as $30 million, depending on which outlet you went to. But $16 million looks to be the settlement. There are some politicians not too happy about it. Some of the media not too happy about it. We're going to talk about that because we always like to update you on the media. A few updates on the Democrat Party as well. Tell us what your thoughts are on the big, beautiful bill and how you're going to be celebrating Independence Day. But right now, we've got to take a break. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily, Jardians, at each day start. As time went on, it was easy to see I'm lowering my A1C.
And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardians can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too.
Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine, which can be fatal. Stop Jardians and call your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, trouble breathing, or increased ketones. Jardians may cause dehydration that can suddenly worsen kidney function and make you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or weak upon standing. Genital yeast infections in men and women, urinary tract infections, low blood sugar, or a rare life-threatening bacterial infection between and around the anus and genitals can occur. Call your doctor right away if you have fever or feel weak or tired and pain, tenderness, swelling, or redness in the genital area. Don't use if allergic to Jardians. Stop use if you have a serious allergic reaction. Call your doctor if you have rash, swelling, difficulty breathing, or swallowing. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have new pain or tenderness, sores, ulcers, or infection in your legs or feet.
Jardians is really swell, the little pill with a big story to tell.
We've told people Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance so you only pay for what you need. For the last time.
Huh. Shallow. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, liberty, liberty.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Marcus Street in Corning. Before we jump right into New York State issues, let's talk about a really local issue, but I wanted to highlight it because sometimes it's nice to hear some good news. Though I think it's great news. The Republicans in the House have advanced Trump's big, beautiful bill to a final vote this morning. But State Senator Tom O'Mara and Assemblyman Chris Friend, friends to Frankly Speaking, visited Horseheads High School Tuesday to pay tribute to the New York State Public High School Athletic Association Class AA Boys Varsity Baseball State Champions. That's a mouthful, but congratulations to the team. O'Mara and Friend, joined by another friend of Frankly Speaking, Chemung County Executive Christopher Moss, presented the team with a joint Senate Assembly legislative resolution, which was also co-sponsored by Assemblyman Phil Palmisano, paying tribute to the 2025 Section 5 Class D champion Blue Raiders. And here is, I think, a great photo of the team with the proclamations there and the special guests, as I mentioned. Tom O'Mara, Chris Friend, Chris Moss. What a nice, heartwarming thing to do. So I wanted to start off our conversation on state and local issues with that. But seeing as this is a good segue, let's go to the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program where we read viewer comments. Mark writes in, even if Elise Stefanik has not officially announced running for New York State governor, it seems like the fight is on. It sure does. Now, did you see that Governor Kathy Hochul's top aide was slapped with a suspension after the accusations of sexual harassment? Hochul's press secretary, A.V. Small, is on leave after a staffer accused him of inappropriate touching. The New York Times was the first to report on this. Governor Hochul has zero tolerance for misconduct by any New York State employee and has instituted the strongest workplace protections and training policies in state history, her spokesperson wrote in a statement. While we cannot comment on an open investigation, as soon as a complaint was brought to the chamber, the employee in question was placed on leave. Small has been a longtime member of Hochul's press team. He was a deputy press secretary before taking over for Hazel Crampton Hayes in mid-2023. Per the Times and Politico's reporting, the alleged incident happened at a popular watering hole, McGeary's Pub in downtown Albany, after a staff retreat at the governor's office. Hochul came into office in 2021. We don't have to go through all that. Now, I guess you could say maybe Hochul received some good news, because it sounds as if Richie Torres essentially announced he isn't going to run for New York State governor. It was originally thought that Representative Richie Torres would challenge her in a primary, but giving an interview yesterday, he said, or 2 days ago, I think, he said, it was actually on Morning Joe, "I am unlikely to run for governor. I feel like the assault that we've seen on the societal safety net in the Bronx is so unprecedented, it's so overwhelming, that I'm going to keep my focus on Washington, D.C." So the news coming out in a kind of a weird fashion, much like the news that, I'm not going to say it was weird, but at least Stefanik almost making the announcement and then not officially announcing. So saying it's not a matter of if, it's when. So it's not a matter of if she's going to run for governor, it's when. Interesting scenario and how she said it and where she said it. Same with Richie Torres giving an interview and saying it's unlikely, because there's been a lot of hype around Richie Torres running because he's done so many op-eds, so many pieces that makes you think, oh yeah, he's going to run. But that was a primary, of course, a lot different than Elise Stefanik's situation. Elise Stefanik earlier in the week saying that she's running. And if you look at, like Mark said, if you look at the tweets that her and Hochul had in regards to the big, beautiful bill, it looks like the fight is on, to paraphrase Miss Stefanik. Also, just as an update from a story we brought to you all week, how are we doing on time? No, we'll get to that in a moment. Again, House Republicans have advanced Trump's big, beautiful bill, going to a final vote early this morning. Going to keep you updated on it as best as we can throughout the broadcast this morning. I know it's going quickly. Let's wrap up our number one of Frankly Speaking after this.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/BigFoxNews.
Every great performance starts with a great night's sleep. Thanks to new Natrol Sleep and Restore, which helps me be this me, this me, this me. I'm kidding. To be my best at all of this, I have to be my best at this. Every great night's sleep starts with Natrol.
New Natrol Sleep and Restore for your ultimate restorative sleep.
Catch Twin local news and weather by visiting WYDCTV.com. We've got daily and weekly weather forecast, question of the day, things to do, and more. WYDCTV.com, your website for everything Twin.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio on Market Street in Corning. Andrew Cuomo, sorry to startle you there. Andrew Cuomo was trying to hang on to support for a general election bid, even though he was soundly defeated by the socialist candidate. Andrew Cuomo is scrambling to shore up backing for a general election run, even as pillars of support are crumbling. You've even heard of some that were supporting Andrew Cuomo through finances and through just regular day-to-day support, turning and going to Mamdani. The former governor and his advisors have courted Democratic elected officials, business leaders, and labor chiefs who endorsed his failed primary bid in an attempt to keep them in the fold for November. That's according to 4 different sources that Politico reached out to with direct knowledge of the conversations. In phone calls since his double-digit loss to Democratic Socialist Zoran Mamdani, Cuomo has insisted there is a path forward in a 5-candidate general election field and referenced public polling that showed him neck and neck with incumbent Eric Adams. So far, the argument doesn't seem to be working. Two key components of Cuomo's base, black leaders and unions, are abandoning his campaign. Actually, it was reported yesterday that Reverend Al Sharpton called on Andrew Cuomo to drop out of the mayoral race, saying, look at what is best for the city. Boy, the ego on Cuomo. But this is reminiscent of when he was going to run for president. This is before COVID. And he was polling it under 1%, but kept the dream alive, kept suggesting he was going to run. The ego of him, even being defeated by double digits, does not really affect him because he is surrounded by yes people that are telling him that he can still do it. He can still make it. And if he does, look at that comeback. And then what's next? The governor's mansion again? The White House? His ego will never be crushed. But Reverend Al Sharpton called on him to drop out of the race, telling him that now is not the time for you to continue on the independent campaign. I don't want Cuomo to risk coming in third in the race. He has a role to play in public life. He is a very gifted politician. Now isn't his time. He said Cuomo should jump ship and give Mayor Adams a chance to retain power as he mounts an independent bid with the long shot hope of attracting a mix of moderate Democrats and GOP voters to give him the edge. Now, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is mulling a probe into socialist mayor candidate Zoran Mamdani as danger to New York City. We may talk a little bit more about this when we come back. Kind of a recap on what we know about the big, beautiful bill and its procedural hurdle, as the term is everybody using, overcoming that early this morning, 3:30 this morning, and now being set up for a final vote. We'll talk about that, just give you an update. I'm going to check some different news sources so we have as much information for you as possible when we come back. Hard to believe hour number 1 nearly in the books. Coming up in the next hour, Joe Barlow from the Crystal Chords will be joining us with a special song just for Frankly Speaking. And that is from Mach 4, our friends at Mach 4, who you've seen numerous times throughout the Salvation Army telethon in the Christmas season here on the program. I also mentioned it earlier in the show, but to all of our Hornell friends, people that tune in Hornell, if you have an opportunity on Saturday or Sunday, both at 1 p.m., tune in to WLEA. If you're in Hornell, you're already well familiar with WLEA. They do a fantastic job. Well, I'm going to be on The Pulse with Mayor John Buckley. We reversed the roles. I am being interviewed, not the other way around, but he does a great job. It's a lot of fun to be on that show with him. We covered a lot of topics in that broadcast. So I hope that you'll tune in, set your alarms so you don't forget, 1 o'clock on either Saturday or Sunday, WLEA and The Pulse with Mayor Buckley. All right, let's take this break. Hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2, mere moments away. Stay with us.
William Mattar has earned a reputation for being a straight shooter.
Because I am a straight shooter.
For being honest.
Here's what we're willing to pay.
Because I am honest.
For winning a lot.
Because we win a lot.
If you've been injured in a motor vehicle accident, it matters who you hire. It matters in the experience as well as the results. Call William Mattar. Visit WilliamMattar.com.
Enjoy a taste of the Finger Lakes at Hector Hideaway.
Dine inside or out on the deck for gorgeous lake views and pair your meal with a local wine, beer, or beverage. Visit us today at Hector Hideaway.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is a start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Confidence isn't given, it's built. One choice, one moment, one step at a time. How you feel is how you play. It starts with a click.
It's hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking. Broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. I'm your host, Frank Acom. Thank you for joining us this morning as the breaking news from overnight. The House Republicans have advanced Trump's big, beautiful bill to a final vote, which could technically have happened as early as 6 a.m. this morning. As you are aware, that has not happened yet. It was an all-nighter last night. GOP leaders kept the procedural vote open for almost 6 hours as they worked to flip what was at one time 12 votes. Representative Brian Fitzpatrick was the lone Republican to vote no at the end. Of course, Ryan Fitzpatrick from Pennsylvania. Things did not look good last night. If you stayed up, if you watched it, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Now, a viewer writes in, and this is a very good point, and we read viewer comments during the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program. Steuben Senior Services, empowering seniors to age at home. This viewer writes in, President Trump was awake all night. Within minutes of Trump's call for a vote, House leaders locked in the schedule and called the vote. Hope he got his usual 4 hours of sleep. Yes, it did come off the heels of quite a Truth Social post that came in late last night. Well, it might have been even early this morning, where he said, what are you guys doing? Get this done. Are you crazy? Type thing. Ridiculous. And then the vote was scheduled. It was a kind of a risky move by Speaker Johnson from everything that we have read. It was kind of we're calling your bluff and we're going to do this. Either you're with the America First agenda or you're against it. Either you're for tax cuts or you're for tax increases. Now, it depends on what outlet you go to. They'll say that holdouts fall in line or they cave, however you want to word it. We know what actually happened. Some people were going to be holdouts. There's always going to be some grandstanders in the Republican Party for whatever reason. But when Trump worked all into the night, meeting, making phone calls, J.D. Vance as well, participating in them, Dr. Oz at points, it was to tell them what was actually in it. Because very often Republicans can get duped by what they hear from their Democrat colleagues, from various media outlets. But this means it's not a done deal. It's just a gigantic step closer, a procedural hurdle, as every outlet says, getting to that final vote. So that could set up that scenario where it reaches his desk, if they can pass it today, reaching his desk before July 4th and signing it in what will undoubtedly be an amazing ceremony on July 4th. But the fiscal hawks have caved. It is a significant victory for Speaker Johnson. And how many people, if you want to admit it, you don't have to, but how many people, you don't even have to say yourself, but a lot of people in general question Speaker Johnson, not thinking that he was just kind of the last man standing and was voted in. He's done a wonderful job for Trump's agenda. I think very rarely has he been off the mark, and this is a significant victory making this far. Though the fight is not over yet. I do want to preface that. We don't have to go through the whole history of what happened last night. We've done that 2 or 3 times by now. But it is worth mentioning that what Trump said on... I'm sorry. I thought I had the quote from Trump that we had mentioned earlier, but I think I already threw that away in my stack of papers to clean up my desk here a little bit. But as I said, the vote is considered something of a gamble for Speaker Johnson, who had faced opposition to the legislation from various members of the Republican Party. Heading into the rule vote, conservatives had warned that they would sink the procedural measure unless it was delayed beyond Wednesday. Okay, your thoughts. on the potential passage of the big, beautiful bill. Speaker Johnson believes it'll be right around 8 a.m. So if you see any breaking news, let me know, and I'll be checking throughout this last hour so we can pass it along to you. We were talking about New York. We can continue that conversation. As I mentioned, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem had mulled, probing the background of socialist mayoral candidate Zoran Mamdani as a danger to New York City. Noem made the stunning suggestion she could invoke previously unused authorities to look at whether the 33-year-old candidate's whitewashing of anti-Israel demonstrations was a threat to the public during a Wednesday meeting of Trump's Homeland Security Advisory Council. Tom Suozzi, Representative Tom Suozzi, published a piece yesterday saying, for Democrats, Mamdani is a wake-up call and a bad example. He shows us how the party is falling short, but he has all the wrong solutions. Saying that this should serve as a loud wake-up call for the Democrat Party. Mr. Mamdani correctly diagnosed the core issue confronting most Americans. The economy isn't working for them. They can't afford housing, health insurance, or education for their kids. They're worried they won't have enough money to retire. Unfortunately, most Americans perceive that Democrats are often too focused on other issues, such as reproductive rights and LGBT protections. While these are vital, they're not the first thing on most Americans' minds as they lie awake at night worrying about bills, rent, and job security. Mr. Mamdani didn't win because of socialism. He won because too many voters think the rest of the Democrat Party no longer stands for them. That's a warning for New York, and Democrats ignore it at their own peril. I would disagree with Representative Suozzi. I do believe there is a large portion of the Democrat Party that wants socialism. And I think young people are headed in that direction, as polling has shown, as the protests that we've seen on college campuses have shown. Unfortunately, I think there has been a lot of brainwashing into believing, and you've got to somehow relate some of it to COVID and the money that the government was giving out, that these younger people specifically saw no repercussions, no hardships in their minds. Of course, we saw it with inflation under Biden, but anyway, one of the many reasons we saw inflation under Biden. But I think that signaled to a lot of people, no, there's free money out there. The government can just print money. So he has become popular because you've got to ask the question, is AOC the face of the Democrat Party? If she is, as a socialist, then this should come as no surprise. And it's not going to be a wake-up call like Representative Suozzi is suggesting. It's going to be a rallying cry around the quote-unquote winning candidate who happens to be a socialist. So I think he downplays the significance of that win, a win that is quite terrifying in the scheme of things. Yes, we were glad to see Cuomo knock down a peg, even though it looks like he's not dropping out, according to some sources. It was nice to knock him down a peg, but it also should terrify you that there's that much support for a socialist candidate talking about, well, never mind the anti-Semitism that he's been spewing. Put that aside for a moment. Policy-wise, what grocery stores run by the state in the city, free bus, I mean, just taking over through government means, private housing to use as communes, essentially. Now, one last other New York issue, then we're going to talk about, we'll give you some updates on the Democrat Party. But talk about how biased this headline sounds to me on my ears from Sienna's polling. But considering everything Trump is doing domestically and in foreign affairs, by 54% to 33%, voters say Trump's actions will not make America great again. That's according in New York. This is a New York-centric poll. That's not why I read it necessarily. But it also, the reason I bring it up is to show you that in New York, Chuck Schumer is actually underwater too, does not have the support that he once had. I tie that in because I mentioned AOC, and many people want AOC to challenge Chuck Schumer if Schumer decides to run for re-election. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer has a negative 41 to 47 favorability rating, little change from 42-48 in May. Okay. Also, talking about the Democrat Party, Randi Weingarten, you know that name from the American Federation of Teachers. She resigned from the Democratic National Committee. Party leaders should, according to, who is it, an ex-Harris aide, I'm trying to find the name, Ben Austin. Ben Austin, says the Democrat Party should break up with American Federation of Teachers President Randy Weingarten. Democrat leaders should thank Weingarten for her service, then lock the door behind her as she makes her way out. As a party leader, Weingarten gaslit Democrats into believing that the best response to the Republican free market smorgasbord of school choice with loosely regulated vouchers is to make sure there is no choice of any kind. Now, Weingarten announced that she would be leaving the DNC due to a disagreement with party leadership in June. Ben Austin, the founding director of Education Civil Rights, now a strong support of unions, also called out an affiliate of AFT for wielding considerable power to bully politicians and defy parents into subservience during the school closures. Yes, it was Weingarten and others that bullied parents and others, administration, to keep the schools in lockdown, doing so much damage to the kids. I tie that in because we are now talking about updates on the Democratic Party. The Democrat Party. Now, if you have not heard, the big, beautiful bill is advancing. It could be voted on any moment now. Any moment. So right now we're filling in with some other stories that I think you need to know. But I would love to have your thoughts on the big, beautiful bill. And moving forward, late last night, 3:30-ish, last night, getting that final procedural hurdle and now along to its final vote. So we'll talk more about that, and we'll keep you updated on anything that we learn, and you keep me updated on anything you learn. As I said, coming up, not in this next segment, but the segment after, we'll be talking with Joe Barlow from the Crystal Chords, always one of our favorite guests, and she brought along a special song by Mach 4 for the broadcast, and what a great way to kick off your long weekend with a new song from Mach 4. All right. Also, I mentioned it in the last hour, but please, to our friends in Hornell, don't miss out. It's a great new program. Now, I'm not just saying because I'm on it. I would recommend that you have your radio always tuned in to WLEA in Hornell, and specifically at 1 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday, as it's a relatively new program. But The Pulse with Mayor John Buckley, friend of Frankly Speaking, who's been on this program a couple times. He's got a great new show out, and it's doing fantastic. They had Assemblyman Phil Palmisano. The other day, I know he has Joe Sempolinski on quite frequently. So The Pulse, 1 o'clock on Saturday and Sunday. I'm going to be the guest this Saturday. I always consider it an honor to be on that program. So to all our Hornell friends, if you would tune in and let me know what you think. I'd love to hear about it. And I'd love to hear from you in general. So stay with us. We'll read some comments when we come back, count up some waves that I missed, and stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Hard water makes it hard to keep your home looking like the work of art you've always envisioned it would be. Culligan softeners reduce hard water buildup and your cleaning time, transforming every drop, every splash, every rinse into the fine art of a long-lasting clean. With a Culligan water softener, revel in the breathtaking beauty of your home, just the way you've always pictured it. Culligan, water you love.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
I have severe plaque psoriasis, but thanks to Skyrizi, I'm showing off my clearer skin. With Skyrizi, I saw dramatically clearer skin. And most people were clearer even at 5 years.
Don't use if allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
With Skyrizi, nothing on my skin means everything. Ask your dermatologist about Skyrizi today. Learn how AbbVie could help you save.
Haley Livingston, Big Fox News, Corning, New York.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you for joining us this morning. Let's go to some viewer comments during the Steuben Senior Services section of our program. First up, the way the left media reports so negatively on Republicans, Jack hopes history looks back on Trump with more pride. I know Jack the Sticker Guy is very proud. Jack the Sticker Guy giving us a lot of great bumper stickers, as you recall, around the election. Ken writes in, it's a sad testament to the honor, integrity, and desire of the Democrat Party to work for the American people. Not one Democrat will vote to keep the Trump tax cuts in place, deport illegal immigrants, or eliminate fraud, waste, and corruption in the Medicaid system. If the sheeple would just pay attention to facts and understand that the Democrats are only worried about themselves instead of listening to and believing the corrupt legacy media, they would never vote for a Democrat. Again, thank you, Ken. And finally, a comment from a different viewer. Have a big, beautiful, beautiful 4th of July. Be sure to watch the signing. Oh, absolutely. Just like the hot dog eating contest will be a must-watch with Joey Chestnut's return, the signing of the big, beautiful bill, if it happens. It's Washington, so always hold your breath. But if it happens, that will be one heck of a signing. And if you are just joining us, it is up to a vote early this morning because it passed that final hurdle late last night. Actually at 3:30 in the morning, you would even say. And Speaker Johnson is hoping for a vote. All done and over with, getting ready to go to the president's desk by 8:30. So we were giving you some Democrat updates. Former President Joe Biden revealed yesterday that he's writing a memoir, surprise, surprise, and has been fielding calls from world leaders urging him to get engaged since leaving the White House. Yeah, it would take world leaders. It's definitely not his party asking him to get engaged. Biden was asked about his post-presidency activities during a Q&A session at the Society for Human Resources Management Convention in San Diego, where he delivered a keynote speech. So he's making good money off of that. He'll make good money because this is what Democrats typically do, even if the book doesn't sell, i.e. Andrew Cuomo. They'll still make a lot of money off the advance. Biden responded, well, it sounds strange. The problem is there is not a lot of time. He said in what would be a rambling, nearly 10-minute long answer to that question. Every president is expected to write a memoir, knowing that most take between 3 and 6 years to get it done. But his publisher wanted what would be his third memoir done by March of this year. So this is the third time he's written a memoir? The former president said the new book will focus on only his 4 years as commander-in-chief, which he said made the task a bit easier. So I'm working like, we'll say, heck, with a publisher to write another 500-page book. I've been doing a lot of research. So get ready, March of next year. And so that means it'll be ready around Christmas time to be released. The former president then bemoaned the many of the things I worked so darn hard on that I thought I changed in the country are changing so rapidly. That must be in reference to Trump getting in and rolling back several Biden air policies. I wonder if he laments the fact that the border is closed. It seemed like that was a really important part of his legacy, the open, porous borders. Biden went on to take credit for expanding NATO, arguing the transatlantic alliance was in shambles when he took office, and said he took on Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The former president claimed he's still fielding calls from U.S. allies. I'm getting calls. I'm not going to get into them. I can't, from a number of European leaders asking me to get engaged. I'm not, because things are different. So I'm doing that, the former president said, as he began to think about what else he's been up to since January 20th, promoting the moderator to interject world peace. That's nice to do in retirement. All kidding aside, how can you just walk away? Biden said in his defense. You don't see me out there publicly doing a lot of this. He also claimed he's been dealing with a lot of Democrats and Republican colleagues calling me, want to talk and bounce things off of me. Yep. He also joked, I've been laying rubber with my 67 Corvette on my driveway. Okay. He also said, every single day I contact every single one of my grandchildren. But I wonder if that's the grandchild that he repeatedly failed to acknowledge the existence of, the Hunter fathered out of wedlock. I wonder if that, honestly, I wonder if that is considered one of his grandchildren. He refused to acknowledge that granddaughter until his hand was forced. So does he call that? Because last we had heard, she had never spoken with her grandfather. So maybe not even every single day with her, maybe once. And his VP, former Vice President Kamala Harris, is a top choice among potential candidates on both sides of the aisle in California's gubernatorial race, according to a recent poll. The poll, done by the University of California, Irvine School of Social Ecology, conducted between May 27th and June 2nd, 2025, and we don't need to get into all the wonkiness, found that when matched against the general Republican choice for California governor, Harris received 41% of support, while the Republican choice received 29%. Think of after your state burns. You're still so liberal that you want, and you see the failed response by Gavin Newsom, Mayor Bass, and you say, you know what? I say we still vote her in. I mean, California deals with what New York does. 14% also expressed that they wouldn't vote, while 16% they were unsure about who to vote for. So right now, she is the top choice to run for governor in California. All right, we got to take a short break because our guest is here. It's pre-recorded. Joe Barlow is going to be joining us from the Crystal Chords. If you are just joining us, House Republicans have advanced Trump's big, beautiful bill to a final vote, and we'll try to keep you updated in case the vote happens before the end of this broadcast. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily, Jardiance, at each day start. As time went on, it was easy to see I'm lowering my A1C.
And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardiance can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too.
Serious side effects include increased ketones in blood or urine, which can be fatal. Stop Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have nausea, vomiting, stomach pain, tiredness, trouble breathing, or increased ketones. Jardiance may cause dehydration that can suddenly worsen kidney function and make you feel dizzy, lightheaded, or weak upon standing. Genital yeast infections in men and women, urinary tract infections, low blood sugar, or a rare life-threatening bacterial infection between and around the anus and genitals can occur. Call your doctor right away if you have fever or feel weak or tired and pain, tenderness, swelling, or redness in the genital area. Don't use if allergic to Jardiance. Stop use if you have a serious allergic reaction. Call your doctor if you have rash, swelling, difficulty breathing, or swallowing. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have new pain or tenderness, sores, ulcers, or infection in your legs or feet.
Jardiance is really swell, the little pill with a big story to tell.
But you want to save hundreds when Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance.
That's great, but can you ask your friend to stop digging into the green?
I can ask, but he's not going to. Only pay for what you need.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom, and we are broadcasting from the Hesselson Studio, and this is the Steuben Senior Services Fund section of our program. Steuben Senior Services, empowering seniors to age at home. Joining me, returning to the Hesselson Studio, Joe, thanks so much for being on the show.
So nice to be back. Thanks, Frank.
I'm excited that it's up. It's time for Summer Sing already.
Yeah.
But before we talk about that, tell us a little bit about the Crystal Chords if people haven't seen your amazing performances on the telethon and just on the street and in the theater. Tell us about it.
Well, we're a women's a cappella chorus. We sing in 4-part harmony. We sing all around the Twin Tiers, Finger Lakes region, and we've been around for over 30 years.
Yeah, that's
So,
unbelievable.
Yeah, we just love to sing.
Well, like I said, you used to sing at the farmers market, and we used to see you everywhere. And I know that you always try to highlight your upcoming performances, but this is a little bit different. Summer Sing. What is Summer Sing?
Well, Summer Sing is kind of becoming a tradition with us. We had so much fun with it last year. We just invite women from the community to come and sing with us at our rehearsals for a few weeks, learn a couple of new songs with us, alongside us, and then, so it'll be all the Tuesdays in July.
Okay.
Then the first Tuesday in August will be the last one of Summer Sing, and that's when we have our guests invite their friends and family to come, and we do a little concert for them and have a social with things to eat and things like that.
And you said it's been a tradition. I don't think we've talked about this specifically since last year. How did last year go?
It was great. We had so many guests, and we just had the best time. We were learning really great songs, and that's when we learned 1,000 Years, which is one of our all-time favorites.
Yeah.
This year we're doing You've Got a Friend in Me from Toy Story.
Yeah, of course, great song.
Which is just, and it's really all about the chorus too, because the chorus is about friendship.
Yeah.
And we're also doing a song called Why We Sing, which is a very uplifting and beautiful melodic song about why we sing.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned about friendship. That's really what this is all about, kind of getting together in that camaraderie, isn't it?
It really is. You know, when I first went to the chorus, I had no musical experience other than singing in the car. And they just welcomed me right in, and I felt so at home right away. So it's the friendship that really brought me back. I've made a lot of friends, and we've done a lot of work together in the community, and we just have so much fun. And we're always learning how to be better singers. Harmony Incorporated, our big organization, is an educational nonprofit. So we're always having classes and having coaches come in and learning to be better singers.
Well, you mentioned that you went in with, no real experience. Is that what Summer Sing is all about? What is the level of aptitude, I guess, you have to have to be in Summer Sing?
It's absolutely no prior experience required.
Okay, that's easy.
Yeah, and so many people, so many women love to sing, and their lives are so crazy and busy and booked that they don't have time for themselves. So this is a way to take an hour on a Tuesday night to come hang out with us and sing with us and have some fun.
Yeah, let off.
It's all about fun. Yeah. This time of year, my God, after the winter we went through,
I know.
We all need some fun.
I couldn't agree more. Where did the idea come from originally?
Oh, our director came up with it, and we thought, why not? Why not just have people come in for a few rehearsals and just hang out and sing with us?
Right. What do they need to know to attend?
Well,
is there anything they should bring? Just
not necessarily. It's nice if people sign up early before it starts, but that's not absolutely necessary. But to go to crystalchords.com, there's a poster about Summer Sing, and there's a QR code.
Oh, yeah. I can actually show
that.
that.
The QR code, I'm sorry, brings you to crystalchords.com. Sorry.
Okay.
But you have the poster, so people can use that on their TV screen or whatever.
I'm going to put it up there right now. There we go.
But also, well, the thing is that our director can send out sheet music for the songs we're going to learn, and also learning tracks. And some people learn better visually from sheet music if they know how to read music. I'm not so great at it, but I'm really good with auditory learning. So the learning track teaches me my part, and I can sing along with it.
So if someone wants to join Summer Sing, is not mandatory, but would you like them to attend each event, each Tuesday?
It would be best to attend as many as you can, yes. Just because, it takes a little time to learn a song. We're going to learn it in a little bit at a time.
Right.
When we get the words and notes down, then we can start adding in the artistry that makes the song better. but it's best to come. It's only an hour, and it's, you know, a few weeks. So.
And when you mentioned getting together at the final, I guess, practice, but this is really the performance, what's that like to watch someone grow from the beginning till then?
You know, it's so fun because we get women coming in who really don't know if they can learn a song and sing it, and some people have prior musical experience, some people don't, but it's just so fun to see them working with whatever part they choose to sing, working with the ladies who are singing that part, and getting to know them a little bit better.
Right.
I see people up on the risers.
Right.
We're not really on stage for the last. We're in our rehearsal space on risers, but the confidence. They grow in confidence, and they get to hear those harmonies. You know, we're all about harmony, and singing together gives us real joy. Yeah. It's amazing the feeling that you get, not just the sound you get from harmony. It really lifts you up.
Yeah. And we've talked about that friendship before and that power of song and you guys all coming together. Have you found that people, if they're able to, their schedule, they try to continue on with Crystal Chords after doing the summer sing?
Yeah, it really depends on people's schedules. You know, women are overbooked. We're all overbooked.
Yeah, right.
So, you know, there's no pressure to join. It's more of a fun event.
Yeah.
But if people are interested, then they can, you know, stay on or learn more about it.
What a great way. And what to celebrate the summer, but also, as you said, kind of grow as a person. So again, to find out more, the best is to go to the website right there. The QR code we showed earlier, we'll show it again. After the song, I was hoping that we could have you introduce the song. I know I used to be in radio, but I think it's only right that you be the DJ. Would you introduce the song for us?
I'd be glad to. We have Mach 4, one of our fun quartets, and they're doing a perfect song for this time of year. It's called Summer Sounds.
Summer Sound. Well, we're going to keep you hooked because it's after this. Stay with us. Thanks again for being on the show. Best of luck.
Thank you, Frank.
All right. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
Attention, Elmeron may lead to vision loss.
If you have suffered vision problems after taking Elmeron to treat bladder pain, call the Hearn Law Firm. Elmeron may be responsible for your vision problems, and you may deserve compensation for your injuries.
If you took Elmeron and now have vision problems, call the Hearn Law Firm at 888-308-3866 right now. You could find out if you qualify in less than 2 minutes. Call 888-308-3866 for your free case review.
I have acroatic arthritis, but with Skyrizi to treat my skin and joints, I'm ready for this moment. Along with clearer skin, Skyrizi helps me move with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. And it's just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and TB. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
There's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi today. Learn how AbbVie could help you save.
8 p.m. somewhere. Do you know where your kids are online?
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC or visit our website at WYDCTV.com.
When I'm in Elmira and Corning, I watch Big Fox.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. And let's hear, as promised, from Mach 4. After that, your comments.
Listen to the music of the carousel, the tingle-ingle-ingle of the ice cream bell, the splishing and the splashing at a moonlight swim, the roaring of the waves when you're surfing in June, July, and August. Play a symphony under starry skies above. Happy summer sounds ride along the steamboat on a Sunday cruise. The sizzle of the hot dogs at the barbecue. The shrieking on a roller coaster way up high. The whistles on the beach where the beach goes by. Summertime is here, wake up and come alive. Put away your scarf and glove. Here comes summer sounds. Summer sounds, summer sounds. Here comes summer sounds. Summer sounds I love. In the good old summertime, hear those wonderful summer sounds. Summer sounds I love.
Thank you to our friends with Mach 4 for that beautiful number. Also, thank you to Joe Barlow for being our guest with the crystal chords. We appreciate her being on the program this morning. All right, let's go to viewer comments. Viewer comments brought to you by Steuben Senior Services Fund, empowering seniors to age at home. First up, this viewer says, Obama wannabe Hakeem Jeffries is still slowly talking and pointing fingers, so it looks like an 8 a.m. vote is out. Yeah, he has it's called a magic minute, so he gets to speak longer, and it sounds like what I've read, he was going through letters from various people, and after quite a long period of time, he said, don't applaud too much, I'm just through A's of the person's name. So I'm guessing he is. I don't know how long he can take. I don't know if he's going to try to pull a Cory Booker just for the petty reason of not getting it to Trump's desk before July 4th. I mean, that would be, he couldn't make it that long. It would still be voted on July 4th. And I don't know. I'm not sure the reason. But this viewer continues. One of his lies stands out, and I paraphrase. Quote, just like we freed the slaves, the Democrat Party will free the future generation. We'll always stand with you. However, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Democrat Party was pro-slavery at the time, and it was the Republican Party that freed the slaves. They always an attempt to rewrite history there, so I appreciate the comment. Comment from a different viewer. Oh, this is from Ken. He writes, what do you think those world leaders are saying to Biden in an effort to get him engaged in world affairs? Joe, you have to get Trump to stop trying to get us to pay our fair share. If you don't stop that America lover and do the things he is doing to other countries, we're going to have to reduce some monetary kickbacks that we have been sending to you and your Democrat buddies. Yes, that's the only engagement. We know the Democrat Party does not want him to get engaged because he had said that if they wanted help and guidance for the future, if they wanted his fundraising capabilities, he'd be more than happy to provide it. And some Democrats' sources were not too happy with the offer and had some very choice words for him. So, yeah, I don't think there's too many world leaders calling him. Now, again, I think it will be a while before we see the passage of the big, beautiful bill, but it did advance at 3:30 this morning. Grover Norquist writes for Fox News early this morning, President Donald Trump's permanent tax cut will change the world. The big, beautiful bill is the capstone of years of work to create a pro-growth tax policy that will make the American economy so strong we will leave Europe in the dust and convince China they cannot compete with us militarily or economically. The big bill provides lower tax rates for all, permanent, immediate expensing of business investment, tax simplification, America competing in the world economy with lower taxes, not lower wages, and the largest spending cut of any budget resolution in history. The big, beautiful bill makes all the temporary parts of the original Trump tax cuts permanent. The doubling of the child tax credit and standard deduction, the lower across-the-board personal income tax rates for all Americans, and the powerful pro-growth immediate business expensing provision. The importance of permanent 100% business expensing cannot be overstated. This is an achievement pursued by the taxpayer movement for the past 5 decades. Thanks to the bill, individuals and companies will know how to plan for their future. They can purchase and immediately deduct the cost of plant and equipment. They can place a new factory into service and deduct 100% of the cost. Democrats will not be able to claw back such widespread and successful tax reductions. Republicans will not have to buy extensions of tax rate reductions as they did in defending the previous Bush tax rate deductions. Following the Trump 2017 tax cuts, with its temporary expensing provision, Americans for Tax Reform compiled over 1,200 testimonials and newspaper reports documenting new investment and higher wages and benefits. The stories flowed in from all 50 states. Now again, without the pandemic, White House economist Kevin Hassett found that the permanence of individual and corporate tax reduction will increase economic growth to the point that revenue will rise $4 trillion over the next decade. Growth will increase wages and manufacturing jobs. Growth will reduce the size of the deficit and debt as a percentage of our economy. We will move forward away from the debt as we did after World War II, when the debt fell from 100% of GDP to 20% of GDP. Every Democrat opposes the bill. They'll have to explain to their constituents why they voted against across-the-board tax cuts, against no tax on tips and overtime and Social Security, against an expansion of the per-child tax credit. The Democrats' no vote is a vote for an across-the-board tax increase. Democrats want personal income tax rates to snap back to Barack Obama levels, higher tax rates on every taxpayer, and small business and the child tax credit and standard deduction cut in half. Now, this goes on, and because it's Grover Norquist, it will get a little wonky, so I don't want to continue here. But taxpayers urge the House to pass the big, beautiful bill now in order to get it to the president's desk by July 4th. With his signature, Americans will keep more of what they earn. Well, I think the call for you to contact is a little late because they are in the process of the debate to vote on the bill. But there are still protests. As I said, as of 5:50 this morning, I noticed in the lot next to Congressman Langworthy's office, there was a protest. It looked like it had been going on all night. It was just one person there, I think, minding the store, so to speak, overnight. But there was prop gravestones and things like that, kind of typical of the protests. So they are ongoing. I don't know if they are watching the news in real time like we are to find out exactly where we're at with the big, beautiful bill. But it could be passed as early as 8. But as the one viewer put it, Hakeem Jeffries is using up his one magic minute. He gets longer than others, and that could take a while because we know lately the Democrats really like to filibuster because in the case of Cory Booker, he got a book deal out of it. We were talking about the Democrat Party on top of the big, beautiful bill. James Carville said he's pushing conspiracy theories. He says he's worried Trump will tamper with the 2026 midterm elections. This was on Jim Acosta's show. He said, in short, yes, Trump will end up tampering with the midterm votes. In the longer words, very. Okay? And I think that may happen. He's going to see the writing on the wall in Virginia. I'm not going to go through everything Carville said, but pushing conspiracy theories. Now, we also saw Bush team up with other Trump foes to trash what they call the colossal mistake of shuttering USAID. Gutting USAID is a travesty and it's a tragedy, Barack Obama said in a video, because of some of the most important work happening anywhere in the world. So Obama, teaming up with Bush and Bono to push the idea that cuts to USAID was a colossal mistake. Also, we talked yesterday, and this is just an update, about the CBS Paramount settlement with Trump. New York Times has a piece. After an astonishing concession to a sitting president, the country's most popular television news program faces the prospect of new ownership and a chilled environment for the First Amendment. What a grandiose statement. For many veteran correspondents at 60 Minutes, paying even $1 to pride themselves in the Kamala Harris interview. They got so, they got so cocky that they could show one way it was edited on one program, and then when it played on the actual 60 Minutes, it was completely different in what she had said. but they didn't think they'd be called to task. And let's face it, nothing would have come of this if Trump had not been victorious. So we said that on this program, that we never hear about it again. But is that the credibility that you stand on? They lost credibility by not covering the Biden years, and they lost credibility by right before the election having a selectively edited interview with Kamala Harris broadcast during 60 Minutes. So now they blame Trump, and they blame this lawsuit and their owners for giving into the lawsuit, as that's why they're losing their credibility. Just as out of touch as Jake Tapper with his book, Original Sin, not trying to rewrite history there as well and cover up the media's responsibility in not covering Joe Biden's mental decline. But now they're saying today is a dark day for press freedom, said Seth Stern, the director of advocacy at the nonprofit Freedom of the Press Foundation. He called Paramount's decision spineless and an invitation for the president to target other news outlets. And Bernie Sanders blasts a lawsuit saying it will further embolden Trump to attack the media. We'll tell you about that and what Elizabeth Warren plans to do as well. But again, the House Republicans have advanced Trump's big, beautiful bill to a final vote. They're in debate right now. We'll keep you updated if we hear anything before the end of broadcast, but it is winding down. So maybe because of Hakeem Jeffries' magic minute where he gets to speak longer, could be a little bit later than 8. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox will be right back.
Every great performance starts with a great night's sleep. Thanks to new Natrol Sleep and Restore, which helps me be this me, this me, this me. I'm kidding. To be my best at all of this, I have to be my best at this. Every great night's sleep starts with Natrol.
New Natrol Sleep and Restore for your ultimate restorative sleep.
Since 1983, Nissan has been assembling award-winning vehicles for you, right here in America. And we're committed to keeping our lineup affordable and free from new tariffs. That's why we've lowered MSRP on our best-selling Rogue and Pathfinder. Because Nissan is here for you. Hurry, 4th of July offers end soon at the Nissan Summer Sales Event.
Now get 0% APR financing for 60 months on the 2025 Nissan Rogue or Pathfinder.
When I'm in Elmira and Corning, I watch Big Fox.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Make sure you get all your comments in very quickly because we're almost wrapping up, and tomorrow's Independence Day. You won't have an opportunity to get in all of your comments. What are you doing for Independence Day? How are you celebrating? I hope you have a fun and safe Independence Day. And if you are in relaxed mood and it's around 3 o'clock, tune in to our sister station WJKP and watch the last airing of the Cardboard Boat Regatta. How's that for a promo? But I think that's a good way to spend July 4th. All right, let's go to viewer comments. Steuben Senior Services brings us the section where we read viewer comments. Rick writes in, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Rick. Hey, it just hit me. If a hurricane was tracking towards Alligator Alcatraz, it could be totally obliterated. They can't warn anyone a hurricane is on its way because NOAA and the National Weather Service don't have enough help to track it. Obliterated. Newsflash. A pardoned January 6th is now employed by the Justice Department. Come on already, pathetic. And hey, Johnson, let's get this sick bill passed. Donald is itching to get out to the golf course. Come on, do your job, make some empty promises. You're good at it. Let's go. All I can do is shake my head. Thank you, Rick. Comment from a different viewer. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries said every Democrat stood in opposition to the big, beautiful bill. Actually, it's no big surprise. It would read more accurately, every Democrat stood against anything Trump. Thank you very much. A comment from a different viewer. It just occurred to me as you were reading about the permanent tax reduction that the Democrats who favor huge government and exorbitant taxes don't want the BBB to pass because it will I almost combined the two words together. It will severely curtail their spend agenda. Yes, almost combining severely curtail together into one big, beautiful word. Thank you for your comments. No new updates as of the last break. We'll keep you updated. We already have to take another break. But again, get your last minute comments in. Any well wishes for everybody to have a good Independence Day, whatever you'd like to talk about. But Bernie Sanders is blasting Paramount for settling over the election interference interview. He said a decision by the Redstone family, the major owners of Paramount, to settle a bogus lawsuit with President Trump over a 60 Minutes report he did not like is an extremely dangerous precedent in terms of both the First Amendment and government extortion. Paramount's decision will only embolden Trump to continue attacking, suing, and intimidating the media, which he has labeled the enemy of the people. It is a dark day for independent journalism and freedom of the press, an essential part of our democracy. It is victory for a president who is attempting to stifle dissent and undermine American democracy. Elizabeth Warren is looking into a full investigation into the settlement, saying Paramount has refused to answer inquiries. With Paramount folding to Donald Trump, at the same time, the company needs his administration's approval for its billion-dollar merger. This could be bribery in plain sight. Paramount has refused to provide answers to a congressional inquiry, so I'm calling for a full investigation into whether or not anti-bribery laws were broken. Oh, on a completely different note, CNN, where they've made a lot of cuts, a lot of the staffers are outraged because their star anchor, Caitlin Collins, now has purchased an island vacation home. So as others are getting fired, she's kind of flaunting her wealth, and it's making for a bad scene behind the scenes at CNN. There's some office gossip and a lot of bickering. She just bought some bougie place, and CNN people are grossed out that she paid so much. She's way overpaid, said one insider. Defending Collins, a different CNN insider pointed out that she has not one but two jobs at the network. She's both its chief White House correspondent and the anchor of her own primetime show, The Source with Caitlin Collins. But we tie that in together. MSNBC and CNN have seen dramatic declines in viewership, while Fox News continues to dominate. The left-leaning networks of MSNBC and CNN, which will both be spun off by their respective parent companies, suffered year-over-year decline in all major metrics for the second quarter compared to the same period last year, according to the latest Nielsen data. Comcast owned MSNBC with its rabid anti-Trump lineup of anchors to an average of 1.008 million primetime viewers from April to June, a year-over-year decline of 15%. So when they talk about losing credibility, they've lost their credibility. You can't, for 4 years, not talk about a president, essentially, and then flip a switch, and it's nonstop coverage and negative coverage of the current president. Even people on the left have been calling it out. Yesterday, we talked about Elon Musk's call for a third party, why many people believe it would be a failure. But CNN, tying it in with what we were just talking about, saying many Americans want a third party, but where would it fit? I don't think it will fit. They're already third parties. There's 4th, 5th, 6th parties. They just don't gain the traction. All right, checking one last update, then wrapping things up, reading your comments. Get them in before the long weekend. Stay with us.
It's 10 p.m. somewhere. Do you know where your kids are online?
Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. And how can we help like that in our small businesses, not to sound cliche, but are the backbone of our community? Let's talk about thanks, as always, to you, the viewers, for sending in your texts and your voicemails. Now we go to a comment. This is from John in Elmira. Make sure to catch Frankly Speaking only on AM Big Fox News WYDC, or visit our website at WYDCTV.com.
If you're looking things to do this weekend, check out our Things to Do page on WYDCTV.com. Find volunteer opportunities, local workshops, family events, and more. Visit WYDCTV.com and click the Things to Do tab to learn more.
If you or one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your...
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, wrapping up today's edition of Frankly Speaking. We're broadcasting live and proudly from the Hesselson's studio. We will go to some viewer comments. I did see one update. Hakeem Jeffries has been speaking for more than 2 hours. Now, Speaker Johnson had predicted he would speak about an hour with the magic minute. And yet we're going on over 2 hours. It's the new it thing with the Democrat Party. And I'm sure he'll get a book deal out of it, much like Cory Booker. All right. Let's go to the Student Senior Services Fund section of our program, where we read viewer comments, shall we? Mark writes in, grilling some steaks on the 4th. You have a great 4th. Well, you too, Mark. I appreciate that. I hope to be doing the same thing. Comment from a different viewer. Freedom of the press to make up stories or otherwise misrepresent the truth. Yeah, and that to Bertie Sanders' comment. Anyway, enjoy your holiday. Thank you. You enjoy your holiday too. Comment from a different viewer. Funny, when Democrats sued Fox, it was great. But suing the mainstream media is totalitarianism. Thank you for that comment. Thank you for making me say totalitarianism. And finally, Rick writes in, Frank, enjoy your holiday. I really appreciate your show. You're the best, and I appreciate you sharing my opinions. Well, thank you, Rick. That's very kind of you, and I hope you have a great Independence Day. I hope everyone does. Oh, we have one last comment. Maybe they'll keep coming in as we trickle out the door. Frank, have a safe, happy 4th of July. You too. Thank you very much. Safe travels, everybody going out on the roads. I know traffic can be a little horrendous out there. I know some of you maybe already getting ready to start on the road. Remember what it's all about, folks. Enjoy it. Enjoy time with your family and friends. And we will be back Monday morning to talk all about it, the big, beautiful bill. And we'll each share our stories of how we celebrated July 4th. I hope you enjoy the fireworks shows. There's a lot going on in our area. Don't forget the last broadcast of the Cardboard Boat Regatta 2025 will be on WJKP tomorrow from 3 to 4. Also, I'll be joining Hornell Mayor John Buckley in, of course, the Hornell area on WLEA on his program, The Pulse, to talk about, well, this program and talk about the issues of the day. So that is on Saturday and Sunday at 1 o'clock. I look forward to that. It's my second appearance. He's only been on a couple months. I really look forward to it. And thank you again to Joe Barlow for being our guest. One last wave, we'll clown it, and one last comment. Good morning, Frank. I hope you have a great Independence Day, and I hope you do too, and I hope all of you do. And join us on Monday morning, bright and early. I look forward to it already.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still be